Well, hello and welcome. Welcome to a brand new year, a brand new week ahead for 2023 with myself, Liesl Wilson. Let's take a look at what we can expect on that front. Of course, wishing you all the best for the year to come. Right, so we're going to kick things off by taking a look at what transpired in December with the ANC's 55th National Elective Conference. We see that it will commence again this coming Thursday, the 5th of January. The conference will be conducted in a hybrid form, where delegates will formally adopt the Commission's reports and resolutions based on the deliberations of commissions within the plenary. Now, conference proceedings were adjourned due to various issues, including delays in registration, the finalization of the credential reports, and the voting procedures. Perhaps for this and more, we're joined by SABC political reporter Samkele Maseko. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, and Happy New Year to the listeners. Hopefully it will be a good, prosperous, a year filled with lots of love, dignity and prosperity.
Yeah, thank you so much. And right back at you. Let's actually look at how this is all going to play out for the country at large. We saw the conference, not quite wrapping up what it needed to. And now on the 5th of January, things are set to commence. How would you sum up what has transpired so far before we get into what's set to come?
The ANC's 55th National Conference in December was marred by delays due to the issues within the registration processes. Various provinces, various regions had failed to do pre-registration in their regions and in their provinces, which is normally a norm in ANC conferences, to have those pre-registrations at the regional level, at the provincial level, so that ultimately, once they get to a national level, it's then smooth sailing for those over 4,000 delegates to register and get their voting tags or various statuses for the 55th or for whatever conference of the ANC that may be sitting at a national level. But unfortunately, with the untimely death of the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, ESC Jasmine Duarte, the suspension of their Secretary General, they did not have their ducks in a row when it comes to the issues pertaining to the Secretary General's office. You also go and look at the responsibilities that were bestowed upon Paul Mashatile, who was the acting Secretary General, acting DSG, Treasurer General of the ANC, with the finances of the party also in shambles, him having to go out and get finances to pay staff's salaries, go out to pay for the conference venue, book hotels for the various 4,000 delegates that were at the conference, because this 55th National Conference that the ANC had gone to, factional politics was in a sort of way handled in a better way, because factional groupings were not allowed to book accommodation alone for their own factions. They were not allowed to book transport for their own factions. They were trying to manage this issue of vote buying. So in a logistics point of view, the ANC was heavily disorganized for the 55th National Conference, hampered by what has transpired at the 6th floor at Luchuli House, the untimely death of Jesu Duarte, the suspension of the Secretary General. Hence, they were in total disarray when it came to the organization on the organizing of the 55th National Conference.
So the conference being adjourned is obviously a first of its kind for the party at large. The SG Mbalula also coming out to say that the ANC is going to give comprehensive response to vote buying claims, which is something you just touched on. And what are your thoughts this time around for the 55th edition?
The vote buying particularly it's very difficult to track within the ANC, and there have been no tangible proof being given saying that Samkele Maseko, a so-and-so leader within the ANC, went to bribe a so-and-so delegate from a so-and-so region. That has not transpired. What we have seen is the CR17 bank statements, which show Cyril Ramaphosa fundraised so much money, about 500 million rands, to contest for the ANC presidency, which was used for airtime, they say, used to transport people, used to book accommodation. But also you can substantiate that, because when in my previous employ, I spoke to Sihle Zikalala in 2017 at the registration venue at the University of Johannesburg. He blatantly said that accommodation has been booked in Sandton for so-and-so delegates by Bidvest. You can see that there is a huge interest by capital in the imaginations and whoever is elected within the political realms of the ANC. So this time around, they've tried to manage this issue of vote buying of delegates, particularly when you look at the outcomes of conference. How many leaders, particularly coming from provinces? I'll use Dixon Musamula, I'll use Donald Selamlela, I'll use Tandimuraka, Polibushielo in Limpopo, I'll use Soviet Lechanyane. All were rejected by their provinces, but they were elected into the NEC of the ANC. You go to KwaZulu-Natal, Sihle Zikalala himself was literally dumped by his province. Mdumiseni Ntuli dumped by his province, put in the political history dustbin, but they were able to garner enough votes to make it into the NEC of the ANC, which pretty much summed it up that it was not a conference of provinces, it was not a conference of regions, but ultimately it was a conference of branches, that even those that were not wanted by their own provinces, take Babalo Matigizela, for example, in the Eastern Cape, take Andile Lungisa in the Eastern Cape. So it tells you that the issue of vote buying was minimized, and the delegates were voting with their conscience and voting in a manner that cuts across political generations. For instance, you look at the number of people that have been voted out in the NEC, whom some of them are ministers. One stands out, who contested in 2017, ironically, is Natim Tedwa. Natim Tedwa could not make it back into the NEC of the ANC, yet he contested a top 6 position in 2017. You go to the likes of senior leaders within the ANC who did not make it. Tony Yengeni did not make it. You look at Colin Mahine, seen as a stronghold man within the Northwest Province, controls his province, but ultimately he failed to make it into the National Executive Committee of the ANC. So it tells you that the political maturity when it comes to election, to a certain extent in the ANC, is maturing, and they are electing across factional lines. Just the newly elected Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, said it's like he's convening the ANC Youth League in the NEC of the ANC, in the nature that so many relatively young people have been elected into the top echelons of the governing party, which is the highest decision-making body between conferences.
So with that said, with the top 7 and with the NEC, how is that going to influence public perception about the party and even confidence in them, particularly as we head into 2024 and beyond?
The ANC's public perception, for instance, it's no longer seen as a non-racial organization. You look at the composition of its top echelons, the top 7. Previously, in the top 7, you've had people like Cheryl Carolus as the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC. You've had the likes of the late Mami J.C. Yasmin Duarte. So they are pretty much, in retrospect now, being seen as a Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania Light. And you look at the songs that are being sung in some of these ANC gatherings, they no longer represent the non-racial aspect of South Africa. You look at the influence of Derek Honeycomb in the ANC. He's no longer in the ANC, he's retired. One wonders what is going to be the influence of minorities, particularly within the structures of the African National Congress. You go to Tina Joemat Peterson, who contested for the first Deputy General Secretary position, which in many ways may be seen as disrespect to the colored community in South Africa, particularly knowing that they've been the ones who've been occupying that particular position, that it's been relegated to accommodate minorities. You go to the various provincial structures. You go to KwaZulu-Natal, for example. They took out Ravi Pillay as an MEC. They took him out. He's no longer within the top echelons of the PEC in the province. You go to other provinces as well, the composition of those top 5 positions, the executives of the provinces, the officials, one may say, of the provinces, it's largely African people in nature and no minorities, which brings about the question, is the ANC still a non-racial organization? Is it battling to accommodate other races within its structures due to the battle of positions which come with the accumulation of resources? You go to the Western Cape, they've totally been obliterated. Khaya Makakla was a former deputy chairperson of the ANC within the Western Cape. When he was deputizing Marius Fransman, he always used to say, why must I contest as chairperson of the ANC? When the community, the population of the Western Cape is largely colored, then it means that Marius Fransman must chair the province. You must look at the racial dynamics of the provinces. One of the provinces that has been able to master the non-racialism issue within South Africa, the Rainbow Nation, to a relative extent, is the Northern Cape. They've been able to make sure that there is a large representation of all of the demographics of the province, as unopposed to what is transpiring in other provinces. For instance, you come to Gauteng. Gauteng, you had the people like Ignatius Jacobs. You had people like Ishmael Vadi. Right now, the top 5 of the ANC in the province, you just look at it for yourself. It looks like the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania.
So bringing that point of non-racialism and representation as well, what can we expect for January 8th? And what is SOL going to do, I guess, to set the tone ahead of SONA as well?
Ultimately, January 8th of the ANC will be preceded by the conclusion of the 55th National Conference on Thursday. The president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, on a hybrid basis with the national officials of the ANC. They will be in Mangaung, and other provincial structures will be in various provinces across the country with their provincial chairs, which will pretty much set the tone of what will transpire in the Mkombandlela speech of the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, which will be emphasized by the various policy resolutions that will be taken once those various subcommittees like economic transformation by Mamlogo Kubai, once she's presented, you go to international relations, Lindiwe Zulu, once she's presented, and once conference adopts those particular policy resolutions, because the policy proposals take place at the policy conference.
Yes.
And they go to the national conference for certification, ratification, and ultimately adoption. One of the key things to come out or may come out of those policy resolutions, you must look out for the basic income grant, BIG, and how the ANC-led administration will be looking at rolling out the basic income grant to look at the various energy proposals when it comes to the just transition within South Africa and the role that renewable energy and hydrogen electricity, which President Ramaphosa and the Northern Cape provincial government through their chairperson Zamani Sol, with the assistance of the Saudi Arabian government, are trying to make sure that you have an electricity grid being built up in South Africa in order to diversify South Africa's energy generation to ease the burden on Eskom and the old coal fleet. You also look at the conundrum of Mpumalanga. Mpumalanga is the coal belt of South Africa, which is where the nub of our electricity generation comes from. And they have, to a certain extent, opposed the issue of just switching off from coal and going to renewable energy, because it's going to have a disastrous effect on the various communities. You go to Hendrina, for example, and Middleburg, which will have a disastrous effect on the economy of Mpumalanga. You go to the Steve Tshwete municipality. You go to the Kharsibande region, which has also got a lot of coal mines. That will ultimately affect and impact negatively the community of Mpumalanga, and you will end up like ghost towns where you have currently in provinces such as the Northwest and the outskirts of Gauteng, where there was predominantly gold mines that are no longer in existence, and those towns are practically ghost towns.
So we'll continue to monitor that, but I think also on the back of what happened this conference, questions about this imminent reshuffle has seemed to come up more than once. How imminent is imminent?
The cabinet reshuffle is imminent because you've got a Secretary General you've got a Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula, who's now been elected full-time at the 6th floor at Luthuli House as the Secretary General. Ironically, Fikile Mbalula goes back to his hometown or his home province of Free State in 10 years ago, 2012. He lost out to Gwede Mantashe with the position of Secretary General. So it's taken him a decade long to ultimately get to the position he contested Gwede Mantashe in 2012. Cabinet reshuffle, definitely on the cards. You've got a number of ministers who are on the firing line, some of them who failed to make it to the National Executive Committee of the ANC. Some of them have been dubbed as Minister of Condolences and Congratulations, whom have not relatively performed well. You look at the sporting fraternity within the country, it's in shambles. You look at the various sporting codes, you look at the battles that have taken place, and you've not seen the minister much when it comes to the nitty-gritties of sports and recreation within the country. You go to transport, there's definitely going to be a reshuffle there. The man who's the Minister of Transport is now based full-time at Luthuli House. Then there are some ministers who are simply just in trouble because of their defiance when it comes to the resolutions of the highest decision-making body of the ANC. That would be Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma voting for the adoption of the Section 89 report. You've got Supramoa Mapilo, ANC Member of Parliament and Chairperson of a Portfolio Committee. Dr. Zweli Mkhize as well, who did not vote on the day, who was not there. Lindiwe Sisulu, who said she was on her phone texting someone outside who's also in trouble and who's simply been seen as a nemesis and a very huge critic of the incumbent president of the ANC. Then you've got a Deputy Minister of Public Enterprises, Phumulo Moswale, who practically said that his boss, the ANC president, must not be re-elected at the 55th National Conference, which showed that he's got no confidence in the man who leads the country and who is ultimately his boss in government. So post the ANC's January 8 statement, they will go to an NEC to sort out the various committees and committees that various individuals must now chair. Post that, which will be a decider, which is the ANC's NEC Lekgotla. At that Lekgotla, the ANC's program of action for the year will then be crafted, which will then be succeeded by a cabinet Lekgotla. I would assume in between that, the ANC NEC Lekgotla and the cabinet Lekgotla, the cabinet reshuffle is in between, because the president can't go to a cabinet Lekgotla with ministers is going to fire tomorrow.
Well, it seems like it's going to be a very illustrious 2023. I mean, we see on the political front, there's a lot in store. We're going to leave the conversation there for now. Thank you very much for joining us. Again, Happy New Year. Wishing you strength for what is set to come. But we obviously see it on the ANC's 55th electoral conference will commence on Thursday, the 5th of January. SABC political reporter Samkele Maseko really weighing in on what we can expect ahead of that. In other news, after a tough year on the economic front, all eyes will be on the Reserve Bank when it meets for the first time in 2023. 2022 saw high inflation and in turn higher interest rates. But locally, the Reserve Bank started its interest rate hiking cycle rather earlier than some of the largest central banks as it looked to nip inflation in the bud. But it has hiked interest rates on 7 consecutive occasions since November of 2021.
It's been a tough year for consumers as they've tried to navigate higher grocery prices. Not all workers have had the benefit of wage inflation increases or increments at all. The Russian war in Ukraine took matters to another level as key exports like grains, oils and fertilizers came to a temporary halt. Global food and fuel prices spiked substantially. Locally, consumer price inflation escalated during the year, hitting a high of 7.8% in the month of July, way above the Reserve Bank's inflation target of 3 to 6%. The Reserve Bank steadily increased rates throughout the year, raising them by a cumulative 275 basis points up until November 2022. That took the repo rate up to 7% and the prime rate to 10.5%. The local central bank has assessed the inflationary outlook as being on the upside, and hence it took action.
Unfortunately, the impact on economic growth of a further rise in interest rates has to be negative. At the same time, one has to bear in mind that relative to our history, interest rates are still not all that high, even if they go to a 7% repo, which would be a 10.5% prime overdraft rate. Prior to COVID-19, we had our interest rates up there at 6.5% repo rate and 10% prime rate. So being slightly higher than those levels is still not excessively high.
At its last meeting in November, the bank said it saw average headline inflation coming in at 6.7% for 2022 and reducing to 5.4% in 2023. Noting that food prices remained stubbornly high and expectations that higher electricity prices would undermine the move to lower inflation levels. The recent announcement that petrol prices will come down by over 2 rands a litre in January will be a welcomed relief for motorists and consumers alike. But the big question is whether this will be sustained. We'll gather the tone from the Reserve Bank on rates when it next meets in the latter part of January 2023. Nompumelelo Siziba, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Well, in other news making headlines, the South African Commercial Catering and Allied Workers Union, SACAU, urged its members to not accept the 4.5% wage increase that Massmart offered. The ongoing wage dispute has no agreement in sight, but perhaps for this and more, we're joined by Sitembele Chwete, Head of Research and Media at SACAU. Very good afternoon. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Chwete.
A very good afternoon.
All right. So perhaps as we get the technicalities sorted there. All right, you're back. Let's see if we can we can mitigate against the technical problems experienced. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, I can.
All right. I was just wanting to start off by wishing you a very happy new year and thank you for joining us here on the SABC.
Good afternoon and happy new year to you too and the listeners.
Thank you, Mr. Trete. I think the question is whether this is going to be a happy new year for workers at large. Let's look at, it being the start of a new year. Members affiliated to your union working at Macro are on strike, and perhaps you could just give us the latest with regard to what's transpiring on that end.
It is not going to be a happy new year for us. Already, workers have spent this December without an increase. We've had numerous negotiation sessions with the company Macro, about 8 of them, and the last 2 in December were in CCMA intervened on a Section 150, facilitation session. On both of those, they walked out, having said that they are going back to their executive board to get a mandate, only to find out that they are sneaking behind us, behind the collective bargaining process, a memo enticing workers to a 4.5% increase instead of the 12% that we had put to them as our demand, which actually equals to 300 rands. We've rejected that, and we've been in running battles with the company for since May. And what we've what we've noticed is that the company does not respect, the collective bargaining sessions that we're having with them. Having
Mr.
come
Trete,
to the table with nothing. Yes.
all right. We are experiencing some technicalities, but on the back of the rejection of that 4.5% increase that you've spoken about, you're also saying that Macro defied the collective bargaining process. Perhaps you can give us more context to that. Just because questions arise about the very state of South Africa's economy, and some would question, why one would reject that 4.5%. So with those numbers and with the process unfolding, perhaps you can contextualize why you've rejected that 4.5, which amounts to about 300 Rand you mentioned.
Macro, which is within the Massmart group, even within the COVID period, they have done so well. If you look into your books, they've made 266% profits, profit margins. Macro within that group, particularly the liquor sector, has been doing so well. If you go into your books, they've got no justifications not to give workers a 12% increase, which is negotiable, by the way. They've got no reason not to give workers 900 rands increase. They've got no reason not to give workers an increase in December during holidays, where everyone is enjoying the fruit of their labor. These workers have toiled. Those cashiers that you see there, they work long hours. Those people that pack the shelves there, they work long hours.
Yeah.
Those people that push trolleys to the cars that we drive, they work long hours for nothing.
So on the back of that, amidst reports that have surfaced where you in fact are quoted as saying, the company was offering an increase on the condition that employees terminate their membership. Is there truth to that? Perhaps you could tell us more?
Which is another issue why we're saying this company does not respect collective bargaining. They didn't only just collapse negotiations at CCMA. The 4.5% that they were giving to workers outside the negotiating table had a condition for them to resign from the union. And they've gone on a various propaganda campaign to say that workers have resigned in the union. None of our members have resigned. Instead, what they did, they gave those workers that are outside SACAO, the collective bargaining, a 250 rands increase, mere 250 rands increase this December. We see that as an attack not only on the union, but on collective bargaining. Collective bargaining whose aim is for orderly industrial relations so that workers can focus on productivity.
Yes.
Yes.
No, absolutely. And because you are demanding 12%, and given the stage of collective bargaining, that it is at, walk us through what the rest of the processes entail and what we can expect. How is this also going to ultimately impact consumers and workers into the new year?
In terms of the process, we have written to them in this December, on the 29th. We have written to them to say that they need to come back to CCMA where they've walked out. We are also saying that to consumers, this is the kind of company that you are dealing with. We're going to be meeting as a union this week when all our members are back from holiday. We're going to be meeting with shop stewards. We're going to be discussing a number of issues. Pointers are that we are going to intensify the strike. The intensification of the strike means that we are going to call on consumers not to go and buy, not to cross picket lines and go and buy at macro, because this is one of the companies that not only disregard the union that they are supposed to be partners with. These are our stakeholders. We're saying that for the community to go and buy at macro, they are entertaining this attitude from the company. We've been engaged in limited duration strikes, your one-day strikes. We are considering going out indefinitely.
Sitembele, thank you for your time here at the SABC, and thank you for giving us the latest there. We're wishing you all the best with your future endeavors and for the new year. Sitembele Trete, Head of Research and Media at Sakau, speaking about its members to date not having accepted that 4.5% wage increase that Massmart offered, again in the collective bargaining phase. So we'll continue to monitor and see how that unfolds, but we'll leave that conversation there and take a quick ad break. There is more upon our return. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The week ahead continues. Now in Western numerology, numbers carry vibrations where each year has its own universal year number. So let's talk some numbers, shall we? The 1st of January 2023 is upon us. A fresh start perhaps awaits us all. And we're going to now look at how numbers will be impacting the year ahead. Numerologist Sandy Smith joins us for more. Sandy, Happy New Year. Thank you for your time on the SABC.
Happy New Year to you, the team, and all of your viewers.
Thank you. Perhaps you can give us an overview for those who don't really understand how numerology works, the context and how numbers, influence what's in store, and then you can break down what the year of 2023 signifies numerologically.
Right.
For South Africa. Let's start there.
All right. So everything in your life is driven by numbers. There's the clock that's ticking, the address, the car that you buy. Everything has got a number plate or an engine number, or it's an address, or it's the floor of a building that you're going for a meeting. Everything is affected by numbers. Your day and your month and your name have got a lot of numbers, and sometimes they impact positively or sometimes they impact negatively. For 2023, the year is going to add to a 7. Now, South Africa's age is a 7, but we only go into a personal 7 year from May of 2023. The energy starts around March and gains speed, and our midpoint will be November. This influences Cyril Ramaphosa as well, because he's in a 7 personal and a 7 public. So everything about the number 7 is new direction, mobility, freedom. It's all about transport. And this is every form, from a scooter, a motorbike, all the way through to PRASA and trains, and through to space travel. unfortunately, the negative of that is that there will be some transportation tragedies that will coming up. The highlight for me is going to be about love and romance, rainbows and sunshine in people's lives. Music, art, and theatre and culture are going to be high impact beautifully this year. We'll find a lot of people from South Africa becoming quite famous. We need to watch out because C7 is about the sea, and we need to watch out, especially, I'm going to highlight two places, the Natal coast and the Cape coast, because the 7 is driven by moon and tides, and this could have extremely enormous high tides. It's also, unfortunately, highlights crime and criminals and the devious. So it is a spiritual year, and it is about being very, very public. So I think Cyril is going to be much more public. We'll be seeing a lot more of him and how he is going to drive direction and the direction that he's going into. And I think he's going to attempt to, the ANC is born on the, well, it's not born, it was founded on the 8th of January, 1912. They go into 7 years, so they've also got to find direction. But the ANC only became official on the 3rd of February in 1990, and you'll see a lot more women taking shape and place in the ANC this next year. The huge negativities are for three, I've picked three particular people. Ace Magashule, his legal battle is there for the next 4 to 5 years, and it's not going to be pleasant. We've also got Zweli Mkhize is going into an absolutely awful year, and the other person is Jacob Zuma. He's going into his 5 life path, which is not pretty at all.
So you've spoken about leadership, and you've spoken about, touched a little bit on governance within the ruling party, and you've also mentioned some concerns for some individuals. But how is the issue of Eskom looking in terms of numbers and load shedding?
All right, so Eskom has actually got 3 companies. There's Eskom Holdings, Eskom Enterprises, and the Eskom, which is where it was founded on the 1st of March 1923. I think I want to say this is the joke about ANC. When they switch us off, they don't make money, and they're trying for that 38% increase, which I doubt that they're actually going to achieve. Huge wobble, very, very unsettled inside of Eskom. Eskom Enterprises is still in a lot of difficulties, and there's a lot of fraud and corruption that's still got to come out there. Eskom Holdings, even worse. So the impact of fraud and corruption and the interference of politics and power games is also there. I think Andre de Ruyter did himself a favor by actually resigning because he's exposed how even 22 other candidates wouldn't even accept the position, and all those candidates were not white. So I think that it's a sad thing that he left, but Eskom has still got a problem in South Africa as well, because we are still in a personal 6 year, which is mechanical, electrical, technical, and chemical, and that is all about Eskom and fuel and coal, etc. But it is about alternate power sources, and kind of from March, the energy starts to get better. From our midpoint in November of 2023, that new direction that South Africa is going into is in place. I've also had a very good look over the next couple of years of South Africa. There's going to be some incredible investment coming into South Africa. So we've just got to find this new direction and where we are going. But I think one of the other highlights I want to make is about one's security and financial security because of fraudsters and hackers. That is going to be mammoth coming up for the next year. That's globally and from South Africa in May.
perhaps you could speak to that. We are recovering from a COVID-19 pandemic. Where South Africa is sitting there, and let's actually look at the state of the economy in our pockets.
Well, you know, when you look at China, it's just incredible. I mean, they're in a terrible place for the next 3 years, market-wise, housing, the COVID story, needing assistance from everybody else. But South Africa is in a much, much better shape. I think we handled it incredibly well versus many other countries. I think Africa handled it very well. So I feel that there is a lot more of a fresh breeze coming regarding that COVID is, as much as it doesn't go away completely, we are definitely free of 99% of the bulk of COVID.
Okay, great. It sounds like good news. Let's shift from domestic and local to international. What can we expect on that front? What are the numbers showing globally?
Well, I've kind of picked particulars. For example, Vladimir Putin, who's born on the 7th of October, 1952. Now, he, in his numbers, has definitely got two things health-wise, which is heart and cancer, and also his freedom of movement in mobility. So he's not in a good place at the moment, and that definitely impacts him from his birthday in October for a period of 2 years. Not good. And that kind of shows up when I look at Russia. I'm using the date, the 12th of the 12th, 1991, that they are in for this next year, material goods and material value is on an all-time low. So that's not good for Russia. And then there's going to be a huge lot of shifting, changing of structures that's coming over the next 2.5 to 3 years.
Sandy, time has run up. Unfortunately, we'll have to leave the conversation there. But with all these numbers that you've contextualized, just very quickly, in a few seconds, how do we use it to our advantage?
Well, if you wanted, I'm going to do something on YouTube so people can watch it there. But if your day and month and you've had your birthday in 2023 and it adds to a 7, then you are in line with global. If your age adds to a 7 during the course of 2023, it impacts you as well. What I like about a 7, if it's in your age, is there's new career directions and money is on the improve for those people.
Sandy Smith, we'll leave that conversation there. Thank you very much for your time. Numerologist Sandy Smith giving us a preview of what the numbers are looking like for the year of 2023. Well, as that conversation ends there, let's take a quick ad break and continue with more news. You're watching The Week Ahead with myself, Liesl Wilson. All right, welcome back. The iconic Cape Minstrel Parade and Malay Choirs Road March will return to the streets of Cape Town tomorrow. The annual event has now been renamed the Hollywood Bets Cape Town Street Parade. This is the longest existing carnival in the city and is an integral part of the city's cultural heritage. For more on what we can expect tomorrow, we're joined by Munib Gambeno, Director of the Kaapse Klopse Carnival Association. Well, Munib, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers, and of course, a Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you. It's almost 3 years since COVID-19 has hit us. And obviously that's impacted the hosting of this annual event. And so perhaps you could talk to us how it impacted you and what we can expect this time round.
Yeah, absolutely. COVID-19 had a devastating effect on all people, of course, but particularly also on the Klopse community and on the hosting of the event. Unfortunately, we couldn't host the event for the last 2 years. The last event took place in January 2020. And suffice to say that we exceptionally excited and happy with the fact that we can return the event to the people this time around. I was on the Cape Flats yesterday, and I can tell you that people are absolutely exuberant and ready to entertain and, of course, to participate in what is probably the most iconic Creole carnival on the African continent.
Yes, so we've seen the Creole carnivals happening in different continents, and ours has now been renamed. So perhaps you could talk to us about the renaming of the event, how they came about, but also how it's going to help the event grow.
So we renamed the event a couple of years ago, and the idea was really for the event to have a broader appeal. Our attitude is that this event belongs to the people of Cape Town and of the Western Cape, and really to all South Africans. And we then renamed it the Cape Town Street Parade. I mean, it explains itself. We had to link it to this to the city where we find ourselves in, and really it's a street parade of the people. And recently we have been fortunate enough for Hollywood Bets to come on board as a title sponsor and to partner with us for the next 3 years to grow this carnival. And together with that comes naming rights, of course, and now it's called the Hollywood Bets Cape Town Street Parade. The opportunity, again, that comes with this title sponsor is one of growth. Here's a company whose commitment and investment in the communities across sporting codes, and now for the first time into a cultural event, can possibly be catalytic to take this carnival on a growth trajectory that we've always been building up to. It's been very parochial for many years, and I think with the support we can really give this international appeal. That, of course, does not dilute the history of the carnival. Locally, we still know it as the Tweede Nuwe Jaar celebration because of its history. On this particular day, our ancestors had the opportunity to usher in the new year. Throughout slavery, post the period of slavery, and then from 1907, when the carnival was formalized with the city of Cape Town, it of course took on a real minstrel sort of vibe, and that was really based on the minstrel troops that Cape Townians saw coming in from the US at the time. And until now, you will see that Carnival has evolved from a situation where people parade down the streets with banjos and the kuma drum, and now we've got this massive brass bands, really in keeping with the evolution of Carnival and that genesis of minstrelsy.
Yeah, so it seems it's all systems go then for the event tomorrow. And perhaps you could talk to us about the expectations for the event ahead of tomorrow, what the route is, and really what is going to transpire.
So the first expectation is that everyone who find themselves within the city should come down to the CBD and just have a big jaw. The route starts at the old District 6 in Anova Street, and it proceeds down Darling Street past the City Hall. We've got a big activation area on the Grand Parade where people can join a Golden Circle offering. Those tickets are available from CompuTicket. But other than that, the event is free along the route. It proceeds up Adderley Street into Wales Street and then into the Boerkamp where it exits in Rose Street. And as I said, now this is a free event. This is celebratory. People should come down. Of course, people should abide by the rules of large events. You know, no alcohol or drugs or any of the sort is allowed. And we should just really sort of try and stay in keeping with ushering in the new year. We've done everything possible to make it a safe event for everyone. The city of Cape Town is a massive help and supporter of this event. And we're just very excited, and we want people to share that. Again, it's a people's event. They should come down and own it and celebrate the new year with us.
Thank you very much for weighing in on that. Ways to also foster social cohesion and nation building and really tell some of South Africa's history. Munib Gambeno, the director at the Kaapse Carnival Association, speaking about the Cape Minstrel Parade and the Malay Choir's Road March, which is going to be hitting the streets of Cape Town tomorrow. He really weighs in on it being all systems go ahead of the Tweede Nuwe Jaar, as it has been dubbed. So we'll leave that conversation there. Take a look at some other news now. It is the first day of 2023. Many travelers will spend their day visiting local dams and other places of interest. Small business owners stand to gain from these visits, whilst families and friends reunite before getting back to the everyday lives of making ends meet. So for more on this, let's cross to SABC News reporter Zebulon Maine. For more, Zebulon, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Walk us through where you are and what's transpiring on your end. How is it really impacting businesses at this point, particularly during January?
Good afternoon to you too. We are here in Itsoseng, just a small town between Mahikeng and Lichtenburg. Basically, we are in butchery, but it's Chesanyama, in fact, here in Itsoseng, where Kasi Market Day is celebrating 3 years today, but this is an event that is being held each and every first week of the month. But today, since is the 1st of January 2023, they are celebrating their third year. But here, as you can see, that there are still preparations going on. As you can see over there, I will allow my colleague Selomo Hopa just to show you there over the stage that there's preparations going on. They're still organizing some sound there, but other than that, patrons are flocking in here in Badis Chesanyama slowly, but we are anticipating that the event will start anytime from now. But for now, let's talk to the event organizer of Kasi Market Day, who is Thabo Kadi, who's going to give us the insight as to what to expect today when the event continues this afternoon. Thabo Kadi, thanks very much for joining us, my brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me in your show, man.
Thank you. We understand that today, as organizer of Kasi Market Day here in Itsoseng, you are celebrating third year. Just take us through that. How did you come up with this Kasi Market Day?
The concept was started by 4 friends. We were sitting in my friend's house number 19 in Itsoseng. Then when we sat around, 2 of my friends are unemployed. Then I said to them, you know what? We are busy here doing this and that, and it's time we sit down and come with a concept that's going to benefit us and the community at the same time. And we said to each other, how about we introduce a concept whereby people come where we are and sit with us and share the ideas with us and come with their business and present them at this particular pace so that people can come and flock in and buy their products. That's how it began, and it began with I think 2 to 3 people only. And you know how it started? It only started by only 2 people coming or 3 people coming to the house, you know, and they shared, you know, we went to this house and this is what's happening, and a lot of people wanted to know and understand what's really special about this house. That's when they started to come and flock in, and we reintroduced the concept to them that this is what's happening and this is what you must expect. And that's when we started to attract different upcoming entrepreneurs to come to the event and sell their products. And the experience, it's been quite, you know, I don't know, it's been phenomenal. You know, like I've been getting the feedback from the different people who are coming to the event, like, you know, thank you very much for the concept that you did for our location. I've been able to grow and I've been able to sell my products to a different location. That's what we want. That's what we want, the small businesses to grow.
So now, just take us through as to, we understand that this event is being held each and every first week of the month. What are you doing during that weekend?
During that weekend, our marketing department sits around and says, you know what, let's go outside and try to find out which people, what kind of people we can find to come to our place and say, you know what, this is me, I'm selling this particular product. For 25 days we do that, and after the feedback we get together and we explain this is what's supposed to happen, this and that. After doing that, we go to the drawing board. We understand that there's an entertainment. People want to be entertainment after buying products and saying, I'm going to sit down and do this and that. They sit down, we entertain them, we book local artists to come and share their talents with us. So that's what we normally do on normally a monthly basis.
Thank you very much. There is Thabo Kadi, the event organizer of Kasi Market Day, explaining to us that what is it that they are doing each and every first week of the month. But what we understand is that the event will start anytime soon. As you can see, patrons are still coming in slowly, but at the later stage we understand that things will be different from what we are seeing right now. With that, back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Zebulon Maine, giving us an update there on New Year's Day. SABC News reporter at the annual Kasi Market Day, celebrating 3 years today, and looking how it's going to impact some of the small businesses that are set to showcase there. Thank you for that crossing. As we move on to the Eastern Cape province now, thousands of people have flocked to the beaches in and around East London. This comes as the New Year celebrations continue under the African sun. The city's beaches and warm ocean is a perennial favorite, But our reporter Sidima Mfeku is in the city taking stock of the revelry. Sidima, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. It seems like there are a lot of people behind you on the beach basking under the African sun. Happy New Year to you all. What is happening on your end?
Thank you very much, Liesl. Indeed, there's a lot of people here in the East London Eastern Beach. They've said, the Buffalo City actually has said that they're expecting more than 10,000 people to come to these beaches during this festive season, and of course on the New Year's Day. If you can look on my far right there, there's quite a very, very large number of people that have come with their families to sort of enjoy this lovely period and getting into the new year. They've said a lot of things previously, or rather yesterday, when they said that they wanted new things to come to light. They said that they wanted, God to bless them with a lot of things, and they've been saying that they want success more than anything during this time. They've been sharing with me quite a lot about how safe they feel, some of them around the city, very large police visibility in the Eastern Beach, and of course they've been saying that they're trying by all means to make sure that they're letting go of all the negativity that they have been throughout the 2 years during the COVID-19 period. And I'm going to try now and get Utata here, who's come with his families. He's enjoying himself. You can see here that he's topless and he's got his children around him. Tata, thank you very much for speaking to us. How does it feel to be here during this time, and what are you looking forward to in year 2023?
I am feeling pretty much well, and I'm relaxing with my family here, my wife, Ntabseng Ranyane. We are indeed enjoying ourselves. We are safe here because the lifesavers are here. The police are also here. We are really indeed enjoying ourselves here.
And going into 2023, what are you hoping to achieve? What are your plans?
First on the plans, that the one that is on the top is for me to serve the Almighty God. Secondly, for my wife to receive a well-paying job in 2023. That is what I'm hoping for to achieve. And also a prosperous and a full blessed year going forward.
Right. Thank you so much, Tata. You've heard it there. The situation with employment in South Africa is really big, and people have been saying that they want, many employment opportunities, and they are hoping that, there'd be very, very affordable, cost of living. And I'm going to try and get Umama here and get to hear how has she been doing in 2023. Mama, how is 2023 treating you so far?
So far, 2023, I can see the weather is nice, and then we are here at East London. We are enjoying, and everything is lifesavers. Because when I came here, I just checked how is the situation. I could see the situation is it's very, very cool, and the lifesavers are here, and also the police, they are here to protect us.
Thank you so much, Mama, for your time. I'm just going to try and squeeze in one last person who has come here with her husband. Mama, please just share with us, how do you feel being a part of this lovely 2023?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling happy. We're enjoying ourselves so much here with our families, our children. As you can see, everyone is happy. Everyone is joyful here. There are police also. We are so happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Mama. There you have it from the people here in the Eastern Beach in East London, saying that they are really enjoying themselves, very happy with 2023. There's a lot of areas or facilities here where people can chill with families, and we're going to be monitoring those areas throughout the day. And also, we're going to try later on and speak to the police officers and get to hear what cases may they have recorded, maybe in between or during the crossover. And we're going to try and get as much information as possible to share with you and the entire South Africa, Liesl.
Sidima Mfeku, thank you for that update. Sidima Mfeku is in East London monitoring how people are ushering in the new year on the beaches in the Eastern Cape. Thank you very much to him for his time. But that is where we're going to leave it for today. That is where the show ends. Again, wishing you all the best that the year has to offer. Peace, love, joy, and happiness. And looking forward to many more memories ahead during this year of 2023 and beyond. So from myself, Liesl Wilson, and the rest of the team, until next time, stay safe, and it's goodbye for now.